to join us in these sessions to discuss about the money laundering legal framework at the international level with the study case Japan.
Oke.
Oke, kita mulai aja Pak. Uni kita, Mbak Fotoy.
Boleh, ini masih pada masuk kayaknya nih Bang Lakso.
Kenapa?
Lagi pada masuk pesertanya satu-satu.
Oh,
Tapi boleh,
tunggu
nggak
dulu.
apa-apa, kita mulai aja.
Oh ya udah.
Oke.
Oke, selamat siang Bapak dan Ibu semua. Ketemu kembali dengan saya. I will use mix taka between Indonesia and also English in this conversation meetings. And I would like to introduce you first. Bapak dan Ibu semua, selamat datang di Public Lecture Jentera Law School. Pada hari ini kita kedatangan lagi praktisi hukum yang pernah menjalani tugas sebagai jaksa, sebagai investigator, dan juga sekarang sebagai lawyer, juga berkecimpung di dunia diplomatik, yaitu Pak Takayuki Fukushima, atau bisa kita panggil sebagai Pak Taka. Beliau saat ini adalah foreign associate-nya Assegaf Hamzah & Partners, dan beliau memiliki pengalaman cukup panjang di Jepang ya, terkait dengan proses penegakan hukum, khususnya terkait dengan TPPU atau tindak pidana pencucian uang. Nah, pada sesi kali ini adalah session kedua dari Pak Taka ya, setelah sebelumnya beliau menjelaskan mengenai studi case legal framework yang ada di Jepang ya, terkait dengan TPPU dan juga contoh-contoh kasus yang ada. Nah, pada hari ini kita akan bicara mengenai perspektif pencucian uang secara global dan kesiapan kerangka hukum ASEAN-Jepang ya, terkait dengan kepatuhan dalam pencegahan pencucian uang. Sebagaimana kita ketahui, ini merupakan salah satu momentum penting juga karena Indonesia saat ini sedang tahap negosiasi untuk menjadi anggota OECD, dan Jepang itu merupakan salah satu negara yang memiliki standar yang cukup tinggi ya, terkait dengan kepatuhan atas rekomendasi FATF. Nah, untuk itu tanpa berlama-lama kita akan minta Pak Takayuki ya untuk memaparkan pemaparannya yang dilanjutkan oleh tanya jawab. Mungkin sekitar 1 jam maksimum atau 45 menit lah Pak Takayuki. If you don't mind, you can elaborate your session in 45 minutes. And after that, we have 45 minutes to discuss and question and answer sessions. Okay, Pak Takayuki, please.
Yeah.
To have a presentation this session.
Okay, thank you for the introduction, Pak Lakso. Selamat siang, nama saya Takayuki Fukushima. Tolong panggil saya Taka. Saya senang waktu itu saya bisa memberikan presentasi untuk yang semuanya. Let me speak in English from here. I must apologize to you. So at the last time, at the first session, so I was speaking so long, so over 60 minutes, and so I didn't have enough time for Q&A session. So that's why, considering such experience, so I'd like to manage my presentation time to spare enough time for the Q&A session. Okay, let me introduce myself a bit. So as Pak Lakso introduced me to you, so I had worked as a public prosecutor for over 19 years in Japan. So among that career, I also had worked as a diplomat, so in Jakarta, so as a mission of Japan to ASEAN to promote the cooperation between Japan and ASEAN in the field of law and justice, including hukum pidana, not only hukum pidana, but also hukum perdata, imigrasi, permasyarakatan, the probation, or something like that, some relevant fields. So by utilizing this experience, so I have been working as Assegaf Hamzah partners as foreign counsel to promote the investment or other economic activities from Japan, so to develop Indonesian economy. So there have been a lot of matters from the Japanese companies to invest a lot of money in Indonesian economy and other Indonesian activities. So among that cases, so I can take advantage of my experience as JAXA or investigator, so to identify the facts. So not only in the criminal conduct, but also in commercial or civil activities. So to apply the Indonesian law or Japanese law to the facts to lead to the success of Japanese companies' economic activities in Indonesia, which can lead to the economic development in Indonesia. So this is my goal, and so I have been doing such activities usually on a daily basis now. Okay, so it's just a brief introduction of myself, and so let's move on to the main point of this lecture. So today's theme is money laundering, Pencucian Uang. So it is one of my responsibilities when I worked as a public prosecutor. So there have been a lot of cases of money laundering, so not only in Japan, but also all over the world. And international standards have been developed and amended. So according to the rapid transition or rapid change of economic activities, such as cryptocurrency or other emerging economic activities. So we need to adjust to such a transition. To develop a good legislation, appropriate legislation to such criminal offenses like money laundering. So it is very emerging and it is very imminent issue to tackle with all over the world. Okay, so let me make a deliver presentation with a PowerPoint slide. Can you see the presentation material? Okay. So
we can see.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to make a presentation with these slides. The table of contents are here. The first, so I have 3 parts of presentation. The first part is overview of laws on proceeds of crime, POC. Proceeds of crime is a major, biggest requirement of money laundering. So the money laundering consists of any activity to conceal proceeds of crime or accept proceeds of crime, POC. So what is the proceeds of crime is the biggest point to consider money laundering offenses. So that's why, as the first point, so I'd like to share, what is the proceeds of crime? in money laundering offenses. And the second part is legal measures against POC. So proceeds of crime, so concealing, accepting, or utilizing to launder such dirty money into clean money. So is a main core point of money laundering. So to prevent such money laundering offenses from taking place. So what are the major legal measures? What are the money laundering offenses? So in Japan, legislated in Japan. So it is the second part of this presentation. And the third point, so recent momentum anti-money laundering measures, AML measures. So as I mentioned earlier, at the beginning of this presentation, so money laundering offenses and so its relevant matters, issues have been rapidly changed. So from time to time, so over time. So that's why we need to cater to, we need to adjust to such rapid transitions or changes to prevent such offenses from taking place. So in that, on that point, so what are the ongoing measures, ongoing policies, ongoing legislation? This point is very important to consider. For future landscape of anti-money laundering measures. So it is the third point and the last point of this presentation. Okay, so let me move on to the first point. So what are the proceeds of crime? So first of all, so I'd like to share, so what laws and regulations are related to POC, proceeds of crime. The general, as general rules, so I can point out, so Penal Code, PC, and the Code of Criminal Procedure, CCP. So it is needless to say that so it is important legal documents in relation to the POC. So in terms of confiscation or search or seize and so other important phase or procedures. And the second point, special laws. So I can pick up these 5 laws. The first one is Act on Prevention of Transfer of Proceeds of Crime, PTPOC. Sorry, so in this session, so like the first session, so we have a lot of acronyms. So I can say the full name of laws and regulations in this presentation, but so in some case, sometimes to save the time, so let me use such acronym. So it's very similar to each other, so it may be confusing you, but so I'd like to let me use such acronyms and apologize to you in advance. And the second special law is Act on Punishment of Organized Crimes and Control of Proceeds of Crime, POCC. This law criminalizes money laundering offenses in Japan. So other legislations, other laws governing about the proceeds of crime, POC. However, so money laundering offenses are governed by this law, Act on POCC, Act on Punishment of Organized Crimes and Control of Proceeds of Crime. And the third one is about the anti-narcotic laws, so Act on Special Provisions for the Narcotics and Psychotropics Control Act. This law is related to the proceeds of crime derived from narcotic offenses, such as methamphetamine smuggling, methamphetamine trafficking, and so other narcotic drugs trafficking, and so something like that. This law is governing such narcotic offenses. and so money laundering offenses related to narcotic offenses. And the fourth one is act on issuance of remission payments using stolen and misappropriated property, IRP. So, and the fifth one is act on payment of damage recovery benefits from funds in deposit accounts used for crime. These two laws are governing about the returning the proceeds of crime to victims of offenses. So that's why, so after the sentencing, after the adjudication of criminal offenses perpetrators, so then, so confiscated money or collecting money, so should be returned to the victims as proceeds of crime, returning to victims. So these two, so fourth one and the fifth one, are governing about such returning money to victims. So let me move on to the next slide. The second point, so what it is the main point of this part. What are proceeds of crime? So I can point out two articles from PTPOC and the POCC-POC. The main article is POCC-POC 2.5. First of all, so PTPOC 2.1, Article 2.1 says that POC, proceeds of crime, means ones prescribed in POCC-POC 2.4 and ones in Narcotic Acts, NRCA 2.5. So that's why, so you need to refer to POCC-POC 2.4 to identify, so what is POC. So POCC-POC 2.4 says that POC, etc. means, three types of proceeds. So the first one is POC, proceeds of crime. Proceeds of crime means money or other property and benefits derived from coming from criminal conduct. And the second one, property derived from POC. So let's say PDPOC. So PDPOC, what is a PDPOC? I'd like to explain later. And the third kind of POC is property composed of any of these types of property intermingled with other kinds of property. So for example, banking deposit. So in one account, so there is some amount of banking deposit. The banking deposit comes from not only the criminal POC, but also other clean money. So those two kinds of money are put in one banking account. So in that case, so it is a typical example of the third type of POC. So property composed of any of these types of property intermingled, mixed, with other kinds of other clean money, in one banking account. So it is the third party's. It is the third part's example of POC. So, and POCC 2.2, POC means any of the following types of property. So the following types of property. So there are a lot of items listed in the article, and it's very lengthy, and so too lengthy to read all of the sentences, all of the paragraphs. So that's why, let me omit in this presentation. But there, I'd like to take note that the scope of POC is a wider range of POC itself. So to seize and confiscate as POC, money as POC to return to victims or literally confiscate the money into the national treasury. Sorry. And the POC 2.3 says about the PDPOC, property derived from POC. PDPOC means so any property obtained as a fruit, natural, not only natural fruit, but also legal fruit, like interest, or in exchange for POC, so purchase price, so in exchange for POC, any property obtained in exchange for such property so obtained, or any other property obtained through the possession or disposition of POC. So POC's typical example is so in fraud case, so perpetrators illegally obtained the property, real estate or property from victims, so with swindle means, fraudulent means. And then, so the perpetrators sell such real estate, the real estate to third party, and in exchange for their sale, they can obtain some money, a lot of money. So it is the PDPOC's typical example. So it is the real estate is not not POC itself, but so the money in exchange for so the real estate is not POC itself, because so the perpetrators didn't get such money directly from the victims. However, so the money is derived from the real estate, so which was obtained from the victim with fraudulent means, so fraud crimes. So that's why the money the perpetrators obtained from the by selling the real estate, and so gained from the real estate from the third party is a PDPOC. And also deposit, banking deposit interest or time deposit interest are also example of PDPOC as a fruit of POC. So let's move on to the next slide. And so what are the POC? Let me continue the definition of POC. In the Narcotic Act 2.5 and 2.3 says about so what are POC in context of drug crimes. So Narcotic Act 2.5, so drug offense proceeds of what like, I mean drug offense proceeds, property derived from drug offense proceeds, or any other property in which blah, blah, blah. So actually, so it is a parallel with ordinary criminal proceeds of crime. So as you saw in the POC 2.4. So that's why, so let me omit the detailed explanation in these articles. So Narcotic Act 2.3, drug offense proceeds obtained through the action of a drug offense or obtained in reward in exchange for such criminal conduct or any money involved in an offense referred to in item 7 of the preceding paragraph. So it is also parallel with the POC definition. So okay, so it's a very long story. So why so two laws, POC, and so Narcotic Act stipulates about the definition of proceeds of crime separately. So it is a very long story to explain the details. So unfortunately, I'm afraid, so I have to omit this point. But so you can take note that in Japan, so two legislations separately stipulate about the definition of POC in the ordinary offenses and the other in narcotics offenses. So let me move on to the next definition. So about the predicate crimes. Predicate crimes are very important to consider money laundering offenses. So because POC so becomes POC so due to the existence of predicate crimes. And in most jurisdictions, including Indonesia and in Japan or other countries, so legislation stipulates lists the list of predicate crimes. So what is the base crime for the proceeds of crime? So not all of the offenses are related to POC, not related to money laundering offenses. So you need to check, so what are the predicate crimes in your jurisdiction? It's very important to apply the anti-money laundering law to the facts and to prosecute or to sentence, to convict money laundering offenses. So let me introduce the Japan's case. So in Japan, so POC 2.2 lists a lot of criminal offenses as predicate crimes. So on the basis of the money laundering crime offense. So let me share the annex. So in Word 5, so as you can see, so there are a lot of sentences and paragraphs. So it's too lengthy to explain one by one. So that's why. So let me scroll very quickly. So so that you can have some image of the very detailed articles and items, paragraphs to stipulate, to list the predicate crimes in the context of money laundering offenses. So back to the PowerPoint slide. So I'd like to pick up some important points so in these predicate crimes. So the item 1, POC 2.2, item 1, so it is the main part of the predicate crimes. What are the predicate crimes in Japan? So criminal acts that are committed for the purpose of obtaining an unlawful economic benefit and constitutes any of the crimes set forth in the following sub-items. Sub-items there are a lot of sub-items, but so let me pick up some important points among them. So the first one is punishable by the death, serious crime, so by the death penalty, life imprisonment, or imprisonment for a long term of 4 years or more. So embezzlement, fraud, theft, or other economic offenses, financial offenses I mentioned in the first session. Most of them are such serious crimes because so they have a long term of 4 years imprisonment or more. So, for example, so in fraud case, fraud, the imprisonment not more than 10 years. So above 4 years, not more than up to 10 years. So that's why so it is included in this serious crime in the POC. And the second point, set forth in appended table 1. So this appended table has a lot of offenses. And so crimes required to be penalized by UNTOC. As you might know, so UNTOC is a United Nations treaty against organized crimes, so UNTOC. UNTOC requires so each jurisdiction to legislate, to criminalize some categories of offenses as a predicate crimes. So So it is mandatory for a signing party, including Japan and Indonesia, to criminalize such offenses. So based on the obligation coming from this UNTOC. And the appended table 2 is included in the POC. These crimes are not so serious, not so equivalent to 4 years imprisonment, but it should be a predicate one. So based on the UNTOC, so it tends to be predicate crimes in the money laundering offenses. So combining all of these categories, so many criminal offenses can be considered as predicate crimes for money laundering offenses. And so item 2, so POC 2.2, item 2, crimes that are the acts of which provision of money for other offenses. So provision money, providing some money to facilitate other offenses, like drug offenses or some other offenses can be categorized into item 2. And item 3, it's related to bribe cases. So bribery of witness at the criminal trial, or bribery, provision of wrongful gains to foreign public officials. So these are the predicate crimes of the money laundering. And item 4 and 5, crimes which constitute terrorism, including its planning. Planning terrorism action can be constituted as anti-terrorism offenses. So these crimes can be predicate crimes in the money laundering and terrorism financing. And Narcotic Act 2.2 also says about the predicate crimes. So drug trafficking is the typical example of predicate crimes in the context of money laundering offenses in Narcotic Act. So let me move on to the one of the main points of this presentation. In Japan, so as money laundering offenses, these 3 crimes, criminal offenses listed in the POC and Narcotic Act. The typical example of money laundering is the middle one, POC 10 and Narcotic Act 6. So disguise facts concerning the acquisition or disposition of POC or conceal POC. So conceal POC, so the typical example is that perpetrators conducting predicate crimes, and gaining some money from the victims as the outcome of such criminal offenses. So put into the safety box, so with a lot of PIN code or other security measures taken. So put into the safety box, put the money into the safety box. So it is a typical example of concealing POC, and it can be punished by the POC. And disguise facts concerning the acquisition or disposition of POC. So in this category, so the typical example is that the perpetrators deposit some money deriving from the criminal activities, so into the nominal account, banking account. So other person's name, names banking account. So it is a typical example of disguising facts concerning the deposition of POC. And the POC 11, the third one, is also a typical example of money laundering offenses. Knowingly receive POC from perpetrators or other accomplices of the predicate crimes perpetrators. So it is very simple and simple and sweet pattern of money laundering offenses. So the first one, POC Article 9, so also criminalize the controlling the business administration entities by using POC. This category has a typical example of obtaining some shares or interests of the companies, stock companies. So by paying the money to the company, and in return for the money, so perpetrators obtain such companies' shares or interest, and so the perpetrators will be able to control the company's businesses and activities to make a more dirty money, that proceeds of crime, clean, so into the ordinary business activities conducted by the stock company. So, so to speak, so the company is considered as the tool, instrument to make the money clean by perpetrators. And so to obtain such tool or instrument, perpetrators use a POC to control the company by getting some shares and interest. These activities, these conducts can be punished by the CPOC as one of the money laundering offenses. And so it is a very important and emerging type of money laundering offenses. So appearingly clean company is a good instrument or a good tool for the for perpetrators to make the money clean. So that's why such activities, such offenses, control the business entities should be need to be penalized, criminalized by legislation to prevent the more further money laundering offenses from taking place. This table shows statistics from 2013 to 2022 about the number of cases which number of cases have been investigated. So on each category of money laundering offenses. The first one, Article 9, so POC Article 9. So as you can see, the number of cases which were investigated is very small. So because it is a bit hard to identify what companies have been controlled by such perpetrators by using proceeds of crime, POC. So it is a very big challenge for the public prosecutors and the police to tackle to prevent money laundering offenses. The second and third one is POCC POC 10, POCC POCC 11. So as you can see, the number of the cases have been increasing, especially in the second category, concealment of criminal proceeds. So it is a bit easier to substantiate the facts of concealment of POC, especially the physically concealment, physical concealment of POC, the police and the public prosecutors can identify such facts. So that's why the case where they investigated and prosecuted have been increasing. And this graph shows the number of suspects, the case of which were sent to public prosecutors from the police offices per year. The blue one, organized fraud. So, as you can remember the first session. So, as one of the financial crimes, currently the organized fraud, telecommunication fraud is one of the biggest trends or biggest challenges to be tackled in the atmosphere, in the environment of criminal offenses, financial crimes. So it is organized fraud cases in the highlighted in blue. And red one means disguise or conceal of POC. So as you can see in the second line of this table. And the green means knowing receipt of POC, and gray others. As you can see, more than half of the cases are related to the concealment or disguise of POC. Okay, so it is about the first part about what are the POC and what are the money laundering offenses and what are the predicate crimes in context of money laundering. Let me move on to the next part. So about how to detect and how to seize the criminal proceeds. So such procedures are governed in the PTPOC and CCP, Criminal Procedure Code. So let me introduce the PTPOC's articles. So I'd like to pick up the one very helpful system, suspicious transaction report called STR. STR is reported from the financial institutions or other money laundering related business entities, such as including lawyers or other professionals, and so other businesses related to which tend to be used in the course of money laundering, such as real estate agent or jewelry seller or other something like that. Such businesses or such bodies have to file to Japan Financial Intelligence Center called JAFIC in the National Police Agency. So Financial Intelligence Center is referred to FIU. So in each jurisdiction, including Indonesia. So if I understand correctly, so the FIU Indonesia is located in the OJK or other relevant agencies. So in Japan, so at the beginning, FIU is one of the departments in the financial service agency. Until 10 years ago. However, so after that, the FIU is transferred to the National Police Agency, and so it has been called JAFIC. And so financial institutions or other businesses so have to file the suspicious transaction report. So STR means this transaction. So for example, so the banking deposit or other transaction can be related to money laundering or other financial crimes or economic crimes. Financial institutions, such transactions, report such transaction to the FIU, JAFIC, as soon as possible. So the activities of financial institutions, credit card operators, casinos. So unfortunately, so in Japan, so there are not official casinos in Japan. So that's why so it is not not Japanese, not ones in Japan. And real estate agencies and certified experts like lawyers or tax accountant or public accountant or something like that. So this SDR can be shared with public prosecutors, tax offices, customs officers, and the Fair Trade Commission, FTC. It is equivalent to KPPU in Indonesia. So antitrust agency. And the Securities and Exchange Surveillance Commission, SCSC, can also get the information to investigate some criminal offenses. So when I worked as a public prosecutor, so I could access to the SDR database at any time. So actually, so in my course of business, in my course of my duty, so I found a lot of cases among such SDRs, so leading to the criminal offenses or other offenses. So it is very useful to identify the money laundering cases or predicate crimes cases. And so by utilizing this useful tool, after that, so we need to identify the money laundering offenses, or we need to identify, we need to seize such assets or properties as POC, so based on CCP. So request public offices or public or private organizations to make a report. We often, so I often so requested the financial institutions to report the transaction report of the target suspects or other those concerned. So to get the financial record in the banking account. Sorry. And so if it is suspicious of obtaining such money or such properties with criminal conduct, so we could request the judge to issue the warrant, a writ of seizure, and then seize such properties and confiscate with the sentence, with the judge's sentence. And also we could interrogate suspects and those concerned in relation to such money or properties. And witness and victims also can be interviewed based on the CCP. So it is a very traditional investigative method. So it is, I think it is common between Indonesia and Japan. So this table shows the number of SDRs. So from 2013 to 2022. In total, the number of reports have been increasing. Within decade. And so in 2022, about 600,000 cases reports were submitted to the Financial Intelligence Unit, FIU. And in 2022, about 370,000 cases were investigated based on the SDRs. So this figure shows that the STRs are very useful to identify the facts related to criminal offenses. And so this table shows the number of criminal cases. So with the use of STR, so the most cases are the fraud-related crimes. So violent of act of prevention, transfer of criminal proceed. So this offense means so the someone opens the bank account with other names, other person's names, or fictitious name. So if you get the banking account note or banking cashing card, debit card from the banking with such fraudulent means, so you can be punished, you can be criminalized for the violation of Act on Prevention of Transfer of Criminal Proceed. These kinds of crimes are the most the cases. So by most cases for the perpetrators to be arrested or prosecuted based on the STR, and other crimes, fraud or other crimes are also identified by the STR. And the preservation so is very important to freeze the banking account or freeze the money or properties to not to be dissipated or diluted so by the perpetrators until the sentencing or until the adjudication. So preservation for confiscation can be used so by the request, based on the request by the public prosecutor or the police. And the preservation for collection of a sum of equivalent value. So if the POC has been also dissipated or diluted, and so you cannot identify that so based on the POC, so you can preserve the equivalent amount of such money or such property to be confiscated. And so suspension of transactions involving deposit accounts based on PDRB. So is this law, so Act on Payment Damage Recovery Benefits from Funds in Deposit Accounts used for crime. So based on this law, the bank account, so financial institutes, so please suspend the bank transactions to certain banking accounts. So if they are suspicious of the account being used so for the purpose of criminal activities. So in that case, the bank can freeze the account not to for the money not to dissipate the money, not to withdraw the money. And this table shows the amount from 2018 to 2022, the amount of money frozen by as the legal measures as the preservation of the POC. And so after the preservation, and so prosecuted some perpetrators are prosecuted, and so the defendants are sentenced by the judge. So the seized money or seized properties need to be confiscated, or if not, if there is not existing, if such property is not existing, so the equivalent money need to be confiscated, collected from the perpetrators. So such measures, such activities are governed by the Penal Code and the Criminal Procedure Code. In principle, such money, such POC can be confiscated, may be confiscated. So on the basis of judge's decision, judge's sentence. And however, so there is an exception to the principle. In bribe cases, so the bribe money and the equivalent money can be must be, not maybe, must be confiscated or collected. So if not, so the judgment is illegal and to be demanded, to be reversed by the upper court. And about the confiscation and the collection of a sum of money is also governed by POC in context of POC confiscation. So POC and the PDPOC are derived property, and POC and the PDPOC in relation to money laundering crimes may be confiscated and or may be collected. However, so it should be noted that the property may not be confiscated if it is a stolen or misappropriated, so embezzled. So it is the exception to the principle. So the reason why such money cannot be confiscated is that so a theft or misappropriation, embezzlement, there is always victim, so which whose their money can be stolen or embezzled. So such money should be returned to victims first. So if such money, if such money is confiscated by the judgment into the national treasury, so such money cannot be returned to victims. So that's why, so in that case, so fraud or theft or misappropriation case, seized money so cannot be confiscated by the judgment. It is the exception. And this table shows the amount of confiscation money, collection money, and the total of such money. So this graph also shows the amount of money confiscated or collected from the defendants. Blue means the confiscated money, and the orange collected money. So this graph shows that POC, many of POC has been dissipated or diluted by the perpetrators' conduct. So that's why so cannot be confiscated, but so collected from the perpetrator defendants. So we need to do that. We need to collect money from the perpetrators. And so it is about the narcotics. So and it is almost the same, but like in the bribery case, in the narcotic offenses, the confiscation or collection of equivalent value are also mandatory, not optional. So I'd like to point out that point. And this graph, this table shows the amount of money so returned to victims. So in each year, from 2006 to 2020 to 2020, so in 7 cases, so almost all among these cases, almost all of the cases are the fraud case, organized fraud cases, as I mentioned in the first session, telecommunication fraud. And this amount can be returned, has been returned to victims of such offense crimes, fraudulent crimes. Okay, so so let me skip this slide. So due to the time, so this measure provides the return of money to victims. So as an alternative way. So as I mentioned in previous slide, so financial institutions so can freeze the account of money which is suspicious of being used so for the purpose of criminal activities. So after the freezing, so the financial institutions after the certain period, the money deposit money in such accounts can be withdrawn from the account, and financial institutions so return such money to victims of the crimes. So in most of the cases are the fraudulent, organized fraud cases, crimes. Such money deposited in bank account and frozen can be returned to victims. The amount of returned money to victims is shown in this table. In 2020, so 1 billion Japanese yen. So that's why 100 billion Indonesia rupiah has been returned to victims from the suspicious banking accounts. Okay, so it is the last part of my presentation. The recent momentum on anti-money laundering measures. So anti-money laundering measures or terrorism financing measures so is governed by the FATF, so Financial Activities Task Force, so whose secretariat is located in the OECD in Paris, and the FATF conducts mutual evaluation in each jurisdiction, not only OECD's members, but also other jurisdictions, including Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia in Southeast Asia countries. So for certain period, once each certain period, so 4 or 5 years each. So the latest one was conducted in August 2021 by FATF to Japan, and the report was issued at that time. So actually, the score evaluation result is not so good. So to be honest, so due to some reasons. So that's why the government of Japan, so intergovernmental agencies task force is established to tackle this issue challenges. And so the government of Japan so developed the National Action Plan on anti-money laundering and terrorism financing from 2024 to 2026, which is the latest one as the National Action Plan. So National Action Plan lists the activities to be conducted for these 3 years. from 2024 to 2026, from 1 to 9. And there are a lot of, there are wide range of activities to be tackled to prevent money laundering. So this alphabet S or A means the evaluation result of FATF. So the highest rate is high effectiveness, and S means a substantial effectiveness, the second best rate, and the M means the third rate, the third highest rank rate, and the fourth rate, there is a fourth rate. It is not less effective, least effective. It means actually, so that's why the rate M. So we have Japan has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So needs some work to improve this rating to better substantial or high effectiveness. And other than these effectiveness tests, so there is also the compliance rating. So with FATF 40 recommendations. So in the course of mutual evaluation process. So it is a bit small. So that's why. So I'd like to focus on each table. So rate in the rate column. So you can see LC, PC, and C. C means compliance with part of FATF standards. So LG means largely compliant with FATF standards, and PC partially compliant with the standards. So actually, as you can see in Japan mutual evaluation process, so there are too many partially compliant with the standards. So it means a lot of work need to be done to improve the situation of anti-money laundering. So that's why the government of Japan has been developing a lot of policies to improve this rating, to restore the confidence of other jurisdictions and the international society. So for your information, it is Indonesia evaluation, mutual evaluation outcome result. So you can see largely compliant with the standards, and in some items, in some recommendations, compliant. You can see, and also in some, you can count the number of PC partially compliant with the standards. So it is better than Japan actually. And Singapore and Malaysia, so as you can see, there are a lot of compliance evaluation. So especially in particular in Singapore, which the industry, so financial business is accounted for the total industry in the country. So that's why FATF evaluation is very important to promote their financial health stance. So it is a good tool, also a good tool to do that for promotion of their business. So it is the FATF evaluation. So let me back to the presentation slide. So to improve this rating, kinds of notorious rating of anti-money laundering measures. Amendment or establishment of new policies or existing policies can be developed in recent years. Let me introduce one of the examples. So amendment to PTPOC, which came into force in April 2024. This amendment adds some articles to strengthen supervision on professions. So professions mean certified administrative procedures, legal specialists, certified judicial scriveners, and certified public accountants, certified public tax accountants. So toward these professions, mainly two expanded obligations can be applied to their business activities. The first one is expansion of customer due diligence obligations imposed on professions. So previously, for such professions, it is okay to report the name of the client to the report to request the information about the identification of the client. However, after this amendment, such professions need to request the client to report purposes of transactions, occupations, or business activities, or beneficial owner of corporations in case of corporations, and assets and income. So in large amount transactions. So you professions, including me, need to request the client to report such detailed information as one of the customer due diligence. And the second one is imposition of SDR obligations on professions. So previously, such professions didn't need to report submit the SDR to FIU. So, however, after this amendment, such professions also need to report the SDR to FIU if they find some suspicious transactions. So this amendment is legislated last year and came into force this year to improve. So as one of the activities of National Action Plan on Anti-Money Laundering, and for the purpose of improving the rating for future FATF's mutual evaluation, which will be conducted maybe in 2027 or 2028. So for that year, we need to develop a lot of measures to prevent money laundering offenses. So it is a recent momentum on anti-money laundering in Japan, and also I need to point out that also in Indonesia, which is applying for the membership of OECD this year. So as I mentioned earlier, FATF's secretariat is in the OECD, and the roadmap for the membership of OECD for Indonesia includes the anti-money laundering, so anti-financial terrorism financing measures, includes such measures as one of the important obligations to become a membership of OECD. So because FATF is one of the parts of OECD. So the rating is better than Japan so far, and so Indonesia is also developing a lot of measures to prevent anti-money laundering. Money laundering offenses. So when I worked at the Ministry of Justice of Japan last year, so the the delegation members came to the Ministry of Justice to discuss about what measures to develop, what measures to take to prevent money laundering offenses. So recently, so amendment of the relevant legislations, the beneficial owners, beneficial owners of corporation need to be disclosed to the public to identify the money laundering offense. This is the first one. So management control through illicit proceeds. So customer in the course of customer due diligence, so such beneficial owner of corporations which tend to use POC to make the dirty money clean through the such apparently so to instrument corporations or companies. So it is one of the important initiatives to be taken to prevent money laundering. So we agreed with such point. So considering such situation, such experience, Indonesia has also and will have developed a lot of policies so about anti-money laundering. Okay, so it is my present. It is all my presentation. So after all, so I must apologize to you for using a lot of time to deliver a presentation. But so I'd like to respond to your questions if you have so as much as possible. Thank you. Okay, so if you have any questions, so please let me know.
Oke, terima kasih banyak atas penjelasannya. Saja mungkin karena keterbatasan waktu, kawan-kawan semua, saya akan ajukan 2 penanya ya di dalam sesi ini. Silakan untuk yang akan bertanya untuk open mic ya dan mengajukan pertanyaan. Bisa dalam bahasa Inggris maupun dalam bahasa Indonesia ya. Nanti bisa dibantu. Silakan. Silakan teman-teman. Kalaupun tidak dalam bentuk open mic, pertanyaan tertulis pun tidak ada masalah. Silakan. Silakan teman-teman.
It's okay. So if it's not related to the presentation,
Yeah.
so as long as it is related to financial crime or money laundering, thank you.
Your explanation actually is really clear, Pak Taka. That's why maybe they are already understand about your whole explanations. Okay, Pak Yongki, do you have any comment? Pak Yongki, or questions? Silakan. Oke. Ya, memang pencucian uang merupakan salah satu isu yang sangat kompleks. If you don't have any question for the forum, maybe I have one question, Pak Taka. Do you have any special law related to the NCB, non-confiscated, non-conviction-based procedures? Because this is also become one of issues in Indonesia. We have the law and also some of implementation based on the Article 67, our money laundering. How the implementation of this concept in Japan? Maybe you can share a little bit about the NCB. Is possible or not in Japan?
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. Actually, so it is very good question. So because there is no such measures in Japan at almost at all. So as I mentioned, in the presentation slide, actually, non-judicial confiscation. All of the confiscation or collection should be made by the judge, so through the judicial proceedings. So this point has been pointed out by the FATF for a long time. So they insist that such non-judicial confiscation measure should be established. To make the procedure of confiscation smoothly or more efficiently. So, however, we need, for some reason, actually, I'm not sure why. So far, such measures have not been taken or legislated. So, however, as one of the alternative way to do that, sorry, I skipped the explanation in this slide. Let me see. Sorry. In PDRB, legislation related to financial institutions. So in kind of limited cases, such as fraud cases, the financial institutions return some money to the victims without any conviction. sentencing. So it is one of the exception, almost only exceptions to the principle of judicial confiscations systems. So I can point it out, but basically, so there is no such confiscations measures. So it is one of the biggest challenges for us. So.
Yes, because this is actually interesting issue also in Indonesia, because we also currently in the progress of drafting new regulation on asset confiscations, and this is become one of the issues.
Yes, so I'd like to consider that point as one of the professionals in Japan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Tata, for the explanation. Maybe you can give a closing statement to close this session, because we almost.
Hi, sorry. Sir, can I ask one more question?
Of course, please. Najwa.
Yeah.
Please, Najwa.
Hey, Taka-san, Najwa
Yeah.
Wilson-das. So we're talking about anti-money laundering, right? And I want to ask a question about like how to improving the transparency, streamlining compliance, and countering financial crime more effectively in global. That's all.
Oh, thank you. So can I so clarify your question? So so what specific point so would you like to ask? So can I ask that point?
I just want to know how to improving the transparency about financial crime, so we can avoid about the money laundering or any financial crime in global, or maybe in Indonesia or Japan.
Okay, thank you for asking. So in terms of transparency, so there have been some measures so to make the financial transaction more transparent. So, for example, so the STR. So actually, so in almost all of the jurisdictions, so there is at least one so FIU. So in Japan, in Indonesia, and in other jurisdictions, and so FIU has a very strong connection network with each other. So sorry, so if I understand, I remember correctly, so there is also a networking so between Indonesia FIU and the Japan FIU to exchange the information so about the STR. So and so you can use so especially so investigative bodies can utilize such information, such reports to identify the fraudulent transactions or others as a wrongful transactions. So if I remember correctly, so Japan FIU, JAFIC has so such networking so with about more than 100 jurisdictions, 100 FIUs, so to exchange information with each other through such device. So the transaction transparency can be improved. And also in the other kinds of international agreements, such as tax agreements between bilateral or multilateral countries, or other mutual legal assistance treaties, MLAT, can also serve as such networking tool devices. So through such so multi-layers or multi-dimensions networking system can promote the transparency of so financial transactions information all over the world, not only bilaterally but also all over the world. So is it the clear answer to your question? So if you have any more further questions, so please let me. Thank you.
Yeah, that's enough. Arigato, Taka-san.
Sama-sama.
Taka, if you don't mind, any last questions come from Lisa. Lisa is
Sure. Not at all.
yeah, if you have a time. Lecturer at the University of Sumatera Utara. So the question is related to the implementation of for the banking. So the question is possible or not in Japan to what we call it, to block it, to halt the transactions or halt the and seize the money without any verdicts for the potential money that's related to the money laundering. So this is something like freeze transactions. It's possible or not because this has become one of the issues in Indonesia. If any suspicious transaction is possible or not, from the banking to conducts actions to freeze the transaction and thank you so much.
So the question means that is there any mean to freeze banking transactions? So
Yes.
for the purpose of preventing money laundering.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. So as thank you for question. So as I mentioned in the slide, so let me sorry. Yes. So in this slide, preservation. So before the sentencing by judges, so financial transactions so can be frozen with the writ of judge. So based on the prosecutor's request, so to prevent the assets or properties from dissipated to anywhere else. So and also if you detect the such money laundering related transaction, so from the SDR or other source of information, so public prosecutors or the police or apply for the preservation order to judges. So and the judges so decide that there is some reasonable grounds to issue such writs. So the transaction can be frozen based with such writs or orders made by judges. So however, as I mentioned, so in the early question about the early question, so such measures need to be through the judge's decision, judge's order. So at all times. So that's why in like Indonesia, so it is not possible to make such proceedings very swift, very smooth. So in some cases, such assets have been already dissipated to anyone else, and so it is not seized, it is not confiscated, and so that's why the public prosecutors need to collect, apply for the order to collect of equivalent value from the defendants instead of confiscating such assets themselves. So it is one of the challenges which could lead to the FATF's recommendations issues. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Taka. Please, you want to give a closing statement? to end.
Okay. Yeah, so for both, so first session and second session, so I'd like, so I have introduced the mainly Japan system, legal systems in the field of financial crimes, economic crimes, and especially so money laundering, anti-money laundering measures. So these fields have been developed so rapidly. So as I mentioned at the beginning, so we need to keep ourselves so updated to the latest environments and adjustments. So actually, so while I was delivering this presentation, even for during that period, the system may have been drastically changed. So somewhere in the world. So in Japan, so emerging issues in relation to money laundering, such as cryptocurrency or virtual currency, virtual assets, or other state-of-the-art technology will be used and is being used so by the organized criminal groups or other malicious people. So and we need to combat such situations. So in that context, so it is very important to keep ourselves updated, keep ourselves up to speed to the world. So it is very, so I hope that we will be keeping so learning a lot of things about this field. So these sessions also make me very good opportunity, provide very good opportunity to cultivate my knowledge, so and update my knowledge. So I'd like to express my gratitude to you for giving this wonderful opportunity. So to not only so provide the information for you, but also cultivate, so enhance my ability and capacity. So thank you so much, and so terima kasih banyak.
Thank you so much, Mr. Taka. And I hope we can discuss in the maybe next sessions. Thank you so much for the participants. Sampai ketemu lagi di Pembicara selanjutnya. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih. So kalau ada pertanyaan lagi, so please feel free to let me know. Thank you.
Thank you. Terima kasih.